It's official. Superman has made more money than Man of Steel at the domestic box office. On Monday, July 28th, 2025, Superman's total gross reached $292.5 million in 18 days of release. Man of Steel, on the other hand, earned $291 million in its entire run in 2013. And Superman is crossing the $300 million mark this week and will keep racking up sizable grosses for the rest of the summer. I often mention Spider-Man Homecoming as a comp because it was also a reboot of an A-list superhero that came out at the same time of year as Superman, only in 2017. Through its third weekend, Spidey had grossed $252 million, yet it added another $82 million after that to close out with $334 million. If Superman follows suit, it gets to at least $370 million by the end of its run, or on par with the final gross of The Batman. Now, that may be a bullish projection, but the point remains that Superman ain't done yet, and is only increasing its lead over Man of Steel from here on out. But there's a huge asterisk to this, that being ticket price inflation. And listen up, James Gunn fans, because here is where the Zack Snyder fans have a point. Adjusted for ticket price inflation, Man of Steel's $291 million would be the equivalent of at least $405 million today. Superman's hitting $300 million this week, but adjusted, Man of Steel was already past $350 million at this point. It's possible that the new Superman can fly past Man of Steel's adjusted $405 million total, but it's unlikely. Now, for those who balk at adjusting for ticket price inflation, please tell us, what are we supposed to do then? I'd like to hear from you in the comments. Are we just supposed to take what the Hollywood spin machine says at face value? Just accept it as they keep claiming their new movies are record breakers or are the biggest ever, as was the case with this new Superman, starting with its opening weekend on through to the present. These constant claims that it's the biggest solo Superman ever. So let me get this straight. We're supposed to be shills and just go along with whatever they're saying. Don't ask questions, just consume product. Be honest, do you James Gunn fans truly believe that the new Superman is the most popular and successful Superman movie ever? Bigger than Man of Steel? Hell, bigger than Superman 1978? And I use the word popular for a reason, because that's what box office represents, first and foremost. It's a measurement of culture that, yes, is represented in terms of dollars, but those dollars represent how many people are going to the movies. So, to be clear, I do not adjust for general inflation. That's a common mistake. I adjust for ticket price inflation, because that is an apples-to-apples comparison that gives us a better sense of how movies compare over time in terms of popularity or attendance. It's not just a financial tool, it's an audience measurement tool. Now, it would be fun to say which Superman was more successful financially, but we're not privy to all the behind-the-scenes Hollywood accounting and deal-making to truly determine the profitability of a given movie. Any YouTuber who obsesses on profits and losses when it comes to box office is irresponsible and, quite frankly, doesn't know what they're talking about. But they're trying to trick you into thinking they're experts with all that talk of profits and losses instead of doing actual movie and box office analysis. Now, fans of the new Superman like to claim that the market for movies right now is more challenging than it used to be, but isn't just going by the money an attempt to ignore those challenges. If the movies are declining in cultural relevance, shouldn't we face that with eyes wide open? And we have a method for getting closer to the truth, adjusting for ticket price inflation. So why not use it? But there is an interesting conversation to be had about how to compare movies from different periods of time. Happy to engage in that discourse. Estimating attendance, though, seems to be the most objective way to do this, but what do you think? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. One idea I've heard is to factor how big a movie was relative to the market at the time. Give credit based on how a movie ranked in the context of its era. So, currently, Superman ranks 4th for 2025, whereas Man of Steel was number 5 in 2013. Now, Superman should surpass Jurassic World Rebirth here domestically, but then later this year, I can imagine movies like Wicked for Good, Zootopia 2, or Avatar Fire and Ash eclipsing Superman, so let's call that a wash. But to get a better answer right now for this video, how about summer box office market share through the end of July? Man of Steel accounted for about 7.7% of the summer box office in 2013 at this point, while the new Superman is 10.4% of this summer. So, by that metric, there's a point for Superman. However, I must say that I'm not a fan of this method because it's dependent not only on the movie in question doing well, but also the other movies around it at the time not doing well. Man of Steel's summer was more stacked than this summer, generating an unadjusted $3.75 billion at this point versus just $2.86 billion so far for this summer. So, of course, Man of Steel would have a lower market share. And one could argue that the new Superman benefits from being one of the few big movies in the market right now. And when we look at the worldwide box office, this is where Superman appears to fall apart. Man of Steel made $670 million worldwide, ranking 9th for 2013. Superman just crossed the $500 million mark and is the 7th biggest Hollywood movie of the year so far. It should cross $600 million and climb to 5th, but then will be knocked back down again by Zootopia 2, Avatar Fire and Ash, etc. So we'll call the worldwide rankings a tie as well. Now, we do not have the data to adjust for ticket price inflation internationally, but for what it's worth, adjusting for general inflation converts Man of Steel's $670 million to over $900 million today. Obviously, that's a number new Superman cannot reach, even if we shave it down a bit for exchange rate differences, etc. However, to put both Superman and Man of Steel more in sync in terms of the raw totals, we could remove China from both because China has mostly turned away from American movies in recent years. Movies of Man of Steel's vintage had a huge advantage worldwide over new movies because of the China factor. So Man of Steel made $63 million in China back in the day, and if we remove that from its total, that would knock it down to $607 million. Now, the new Superman is on track to surpass $600 million as well, even when we remove its pitiful $9 million from China. So, from this unadjusted perspective, Superman is likely to beat Man of Steel. And it's still possible for Superman to match or top Man of Steel, even with China included, albeit unlikely. Anyway, just some data for thought to fuel the flames of the Superman versus Man of Steel debate. You know, the funny thing about Superman's box office is that it's good enough for James Gunn DCU fans to claim victory, yet it's also not good enough to silence DCEU fans from claiming Snyderverse supremacy. But then again, is good enough even good enough when laying the foundation for a new cinematic universe? Man of Steel itself straddled that line back in the day, and look how that turned out. And that's a wrap for now. We'll keep tracking the battle between Superman and Man of Steel, as well as Superman versus the Fantastic Four here at Box Office Revival. So, be sure to like this video if you liked it, continue the discussion in the comments section, and subscribe to the channel, especially if you want to support objective reporting on the box office. This has been Brandon Gray, creator of Box Office Mojo. Thank you for watching.